If you're on Mounjaro, you've probably asked yourself this question. Is it okay to have a drink? It's a huge question, and the answer isn't as simple as you might think. So in this explainer, we are going to break down all the science-backed risks and safety guidelines you absolutely need to know. So let's just get right to it, the big question on everyone's mind. Can you have a drink while taking Mounjaro? It feels like it should be a simple yes or no, right? But the real answer is actually layered with some really important details about how this medication works and, how alcohol messes with that whole process. All right, let's get into the mechanics of it all. To really wrap our heads around the risks, we first need to understand what Mounjaro is actually supposed to do inside your body. Then we can see how throwing alcohol into the mix can really stir things up. Okay, so at its core, Mounjaro, you might also know it by its generic name, Tirzepatide, has two key jobs that are super relevant here. First, it slows down your digestion, which is what helps you feel full longer. And second, and this is crucial, it helps regulate your body's blood sugar. So slow digestion and regulated blood sugar. Remember those two things. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. On its own, Mounjaro is doing its job, right? It's carefully slowing things down, keeping your blood sugar stable. But when you introduce alcohol, well, alcohol also affects blood sugar and can irritate your stomach. So you're not just adding one thing to another, you're creating a conflict. Your digestion might slow down even more, and your blood sugar can become totally unpredictable. It's kind of like two different drivers trying to steer the same car. And interestingly, this might be why some people on the medication say they just lose their craving for alcohol. It's a fascinating side effect that scientists are still looking into. So what's the official word? Well, to be crystal clear, the FDA hasn't come out and said, you are absolutely forbidden from drinking alcohol on Mounjaro. But, and this is a huge but, just because something isn't explicitly prohibited doesn't mean it's risk-free. Not at all. The real story is found when you dig into those potential interactions. So what exactly are we talking about when we say risks? What does the evidence actually show? Well, based on information from major players like the American Diabetes Association and the Mayo Clinic, we've pinpointed 5 key areas of concern that you need to be aware of. Let's break them down. Okay, risk number 1, and this is probably the one you'd feel the fastest. Increased nausea and just general stomach issues. For some people, Mounjaro can cause nausea all on its own. And since we all know alcohol can irritate the stomach, combining the two can be like pouring gasoline on a fire. It can lead to some serious discomfort. Next up, number 2, and please pay close attention to this one, especially if you have diabetes. We're talking about dangerously low blood sugar, also known as hypoglycemia. You see, both Mounjaro and alcohol can lower your blood sugar levels. When you put them together, their effects can stack up, causing dizziness, confusion, and in the worst-case scenarios, it can become a legitimate medical emergency. This is not something to take lightly. All right, number 3 might sound like a no-brainer, but it's so important we talk about it. Impaired judgment. Alcohol affects your decision-making. That could mean something as simple as forgetting to take your next dose of medicine on time, or maybe making poor food choices that completely derail the health plan you're working so hard to stick to. And risk number 4 gets right down to why many of you are probably taking this medicine in the first place, your weight loss goals. Let's be real. Alcoholic drinks are often loaded with what we call empty calories. These are calories that give you zero nutritional value and can directly work against the progress you're trying so hard to make. And finally, the 5th risk is all about putting extra, unnecessary strain on your body. This is especially true if you have certain pre-existing conditions. For example, if you have a history of pancreatitis, drinking alcohol while on Mounjaro adds a whole other layer of serious risk that you absolutely must discuss with your doctor. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the don'ts and the risks, but what about the how-tos? Let's shift gears and talk about harm reduction. If you and your doctor agree that having a drink in moderation is okay for you, what are the practical, smart guidelines you should follow? Let's walk through this 5-step safety checklist together. Number 1, stick to moderation. For women, that means a max of 1 drink a day. For men, 2. Number 2, always eat something when you drink. Never drink on an empty stomach. 3, if you have diabetes, keep a close eye on your blood sugar levels. 4, listen to what your body is telling you. If the Mounjaro is already making you feel a bit sick, just skip the alcohol. And number 5, this one is a hard rule, never binge drink. It sends every single risk we've talked about through the roof. So we've gone through all of this, the science, the risks, the safety tips. But if you remember only one thing from this entire explainer, what should it be? What is the one step you absolutely cannot afford to skip? And look, this isn't just our opinion. This key takeaway is backed by the biggest names in medicine. The info we've shared today comes from top-tier sources like the FDA, the American Diabetes Association, and the Mayo Clinic, and they all point to one single, crucial action. Here it is. The absolute most important step you can take is to have a real, honest conversation with your doctor. Your body and your health history are unique. Only a medical professional who knows your story can give you personalized advice that's actually right for you. And that brings us to something we have to be super clear about. Please, please remember that what we've talked about here is for educational purposes only. It is not, and it should never, ever be a substitute for professional medical advice from your own doctor or healthcare provider. So, we'll leave you with this question to think about. When you weigh it all up, your personal health goals and all the risks we've covered, is having that drink really worth it? That's a decision only you can make, and it's one that's best made with the expert guidance of your doctor.